What's happening, everybody? Well, some exciting news coming out of Dodge. Mom Mopar has decided to grace us with some wink wink spy shots of the pre-production Charger for 2025. Now, this is really exciting. We haven't had a whole lot to talk about from Dodge, at least for whatever this new iteration of the Charger is going to be. So, well, let's talk about this thing and I'll give you my thoughts and, well, let's kind of dive into it. So first of all, starting from the back of the car, the taillight treatment does differ from the concept in that it is more of a traditional DOT style rear end with the lights and whatnot. It does have a bit of I would say a bit of a nod to a late 60s, early 70s B-body Charger. But the one thing that's conspicuously absent, or at least very well hidden, tailpipes. I don't see anything back there to say that this car is or isn't an internal combustion engine, or that it doesn't have a provision for one. Spy shot isn't quite that revealing, but what it does show us is it does show us a fuel door on the left-hand side in more or less the same traditional place that you would find a regular fuel door for gasoline, although we don't know if it is for gasoline. Is this thing all electric, as we've been told, or is there going to be some type of an internal combustion engine offered up? Well, I have a feeling that there is going to be at least the Hurricane inline 6 turbo offerings, or at least I would hope so, but whether or not that fuel door is for hydrocarbons or electrons, well, at least for that particular car that we see, we don't know. But let's speculate for a minute. And in other shots of this car, I would say that the sizing of the car seems smaller than the outgoing Challenger. And if that is the case, and if this car is going to have the Hurricane inline 6, that would be an amazing combination. There's another shot of the car from like a 3/4 front view where it looks like it has a staggered wheel and tire setup. That may kind of give you a hint that maybe this is in fact a smaller car. And I know where you're going to go with this, but just walk with me a little bit. It does kind of give off that Mustang-sized vibe to me. It looks like it is maybe a 9/10 scale version of a Charger that we're used to seeing, the LX platform, if that Charger would have been reduced in length for a two-door application. So with that in mind, I've got to sit here and think, man, that would actually be a really sweet deal. Let's say the car checks in at just south of 4,000 pounds or right at 4,000 pounds. And, well, if it got the HO inline 6, that would be at least 540 horsepower that we know of. That would be a potent package. What about maybe an all-wheel drive or a hybrid variant? Well, we don't know anything about that, but it's fun to let your mind race, because in a race against any of the V8 offerings that are available today, at least as far as N8 goes, sorry, I almost didn't make it through the sentence, that inline 6 would destroy it. So I've got to say that I am very excited about this car. From other styling cues, it does look like it still has that pass-through grille. I think that's a pretty cool feature to have for a car like this. First time that any of us had seen that in production. One thing I will say, though, is it is very, if I had a criticism, it does look exceptionally pedestrian to me. It's extremely conservative in the lines and the way that it's laid out. There's nothing, at least in these pre-production models, that would insinuate that these are performance variants of this vehicle. You almost kind of get the idea that this is, if not an entry-level car, it's at least kind of along those lines. I don't think that we've seen exactly what Dodge is going to throw at us just yet. But if this is at least a promise of things to come, I think it's got a lot of potential. I'm looking at it right now from that 3/4 rear view, which is probably going to end up being the thumbnail for this video. I can see this car with a different set of wheels and tires. I can see this car with a little bit different stance. I could see this car with a few other tasteful modifications in terms of just, different types of aesthetic changes you could make to it, where it would look really good. It would look very sporty, and it would actually make sense if the car is a little bit lighter weight, has a staggered wheel and tire setup, if it's got that inline six, and if it can check in at the right price point. We're now into a two-dog race, Charger versus Mustang, both of them hovering in that 500-ish horsepower range. Sounds to me like the beginnings of a nice little real-life rivalry coming into 2025. The S650 is no joke. Could this be Dodge's answer to that car? We can only wait and see, and we can only hope that it is. So with that, guys, post up your comments. Let me know what you think about those spy shots, and we'll catch y'all on the next one. That's a wrap.